What if I told you there's a bridge so high that clouds drift beneath the cars crossing it? This is the story of how China cracked open an entire mountain to build it, and why the real reason has nothing to do with transportation. Let's travel to Guizhou Province in southwestern China. The locals have a saying that has been passed down for generations: the land of no 3 feet flat. They are not being poetic, they are stating a fact. More than 90% of Guizhou is covered by mountains, gorges, and jagged limestone ridges. There are no wide open plains, no gentle rolling hills. The terrain looks like the earth itself was folded, crumpled, and shoved upward in every direction. Travel brochures call it breathtaking, and it is. The emerald valleys, the ancient villages clinging to cliffsides, so the rivers threading through steep gorges, all of it is genuinely stunning. But here's what the travel brochures leave out. This beauty was a trap. For centuries, the people of Guizhou lived as prisoners of their own landscape. A farmer could look across a gorge and see another village just 1 kilometer away. Getting there meant 2 hours of winding mountain roads with sheer drops on one side and rock walls on the other. Children couldn't reach better schools. Doctors couldn't reach patients in time. Crops rotted on hillsides because getting them to market was nearly impossible. The mountains didn't just make life difficult, they made progress impossible. Guizhou became one of the poorest provinces in all of China, not because its people lacked ambition, but because geography had locked the door and swallowed the key. Generation after generation, the poverty stayed, the isolation stayed, the mountains stayed. Until China decided enough was enough. The Chinese government looked at Guizhou and made a calculation. The poverty wasn't a people problem, it was an infrastructure problem. Build roads, build bridges, connect the province to the rest of the country. Wealth will follow. So they started building, and they didn't stop. Here's the number that puts everything in perspective: 32,000. That is how many bridges China has built in Guizhou Province alone, not across all of China, just this one province. These are not small footbridges over streams. These are massive engineered structures spanning deep river gorges and mountain valleys, stitching together communities that had been separated for centuries. But among all 32,000 of those bridges, one stands above every single one of them. And when I say above, I mean that in the most literal way possible. This is the Huajiang Grand Bridge, the highest bridge on the face of the earth. Stand at the bottom of Huajiang Canyon and look straight up. The bridge deck is 625 meters above your head. That is higher than the Shanghai Tower, China's tallest building. It is so high that clouds, actual clouds, sometimes float beneath the roadway while cars drive across the top. The full span stretches 2,890 meters across the canyon. Before this bridge existed, crossing from one rim of this canyon to the other took 2 hours of treacherous mountain driving. Now it takes 2 minutes. 2 hours became 2 minutes. But the bridge is only half the story. Because to understand what China was truly willing to do, you need to hear about what happened before a single cable was strung across that canyon. The Huajiang Bridge is part of the Guizhou S57 Expressway, a highway stretching 150 kilometers through terrain that engineers described as among the most challenging on Earth. The plan was to connect 14 isolated districts with a direct, modern road. Clean, simple. Except there was one problem. A mountain was in the way. Not a hill, not a ridge. A full, ancient, solid mountain sitting exactly where the highway needed to go. Going around it would have added dozens of extra kilometers of winding road, defeating the entire purpose of the expressway. So China's engineers looked at their maps, looked at the mountain, and made a decision that sounds almost mythological. They split it in half. Teams moved in with industrial drills and precision-calculated explosives. They carved a V-shaped channel directly through the heart of the mountain, slicing it open from top to bottom. The blasts were powerful enough to shake villages kilometers away. The amount of rock removed could fill thousands of Olympic swimming pools. What took nature millions of years to form was cut open in a matter of months. The highway now runs straight through the gap. Where a solid mountain once stood, there is now a clean corridor of carved rock on both sides and open sky above. It is one of the most dramatic examples of human will overcoming natural obstacle in modern engineering history. And at the end of that highway, across that split mountain, sits a bridge hanging 625 meters in the air. If you're finding this fascinating so far, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from, and subscribe so you never miss stories like this one. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Engineering a bridge at this height presented problems that had never been solved before. The canyon walls slope at different angles on each side, meaning the two support towers could not be the same height. The north tower stands 262 meters tall. The south tower is 205 meters tall. Every cable, every anchor point, every tension calculation had to account for this asymmetry. Then there was the construction challenge itself. You cannot park a crane at the bottom of a 625-meter canyon. The world's largest crane, Big Carl, stands 250 meters tall. You would need to stack 2.5 Big Carls just to reach the bridge deck. So China's engineers designed a cable crane system instead. A thick steel cable was stretched across the canyon from rim to rim, creating an aerial runway in the sky. Steel truss sections were attached to trolleys that rolled along this cable, ferrying massive structural pieces across the void to their exact position. The bridge was assembled from the center outward, with sections added simultaneously on both sides to keep the tension balanced. Workers used China's Beidou satellite navigation system to position every piece with centimeter-level precision. And before any real steel was lifted, engineers ran the entire construction sequence digitally, simulating every step in virtual space to catch problems before they became disasters. The final structure weighs 22,000 tons. The Eiffel Tower weighs 7,300 tons. This bridge is 3 Eiffel Towers of steel, suspended over a canyon, built in 3.5 years. Guizhou experiences earthquakes. A bridge deck hanging from cables 625 meters in the air behaves like a pendulum when the ground moves. Engineers installed massive shock absorbers at both ends of the deck to absorb seismic energy and prevent catastrophic swinging. Wind was an even more complex problem. When wind gets compressed through a narrow canyon, it accelerates dramatically through a phenomenon called the Venturi effect. Wind speeds recorded in Huajiang Canyon reached levels comparable to express trains. Engineers tested scale models in wind tunnels and deployed Doppler LiDAR technology. Laser systems that map three-dimensional wind patterns in real time to understand exactly what the bridge would face across every season. Even now that the bridge is open, monitoring never stops. Fiber optic strands are embedded directly inside the suspension cables. As the steel flexes under load, the fibers flex too. Engineers measure light reflections through those fibers 24 hours a day, tracking the precise stress on every cable in real time. This bridge doesn't just stand, it breathes. And China watches every breath. Here is where the story takes a turn. Because the Huajiang Bridge was never just about connecting two sides of a canyon. It was never just about ending poverty in Guizhou. Those things are real, and they matter. But China had a bigger calculation running in the background. Since 2012, China has poured hundreds of billions of dollars into infrastructure in its poorest regions. The stated goal is poverty elimination, but the secondary goal is something else entirely: demonstration. China wants to show the world that its model of state-directed development works, that when China decides something will be built, it gets built. Faster, bigger, and more dramatically than anyone thought possible. And the Huajiang Bridge is the showpiece. The bridge features an 800-meter glass elevator built directly into one of the support towers, carrying tourists up to a 2-story observation cafe with unobstructed canyon views. Beneath the road deck, a glass floor walkway lets visitors stare straight down 625 meters to the river below. There is an artificial waterfall cascading hundreds of meters down the bridge structure. There are bungee jump platforms. Plans are underway for professional base jumping competitions and an extreme sports complex at the canyon floor. China didn't just build infrastructure, they built a spectacle, a destination, a proof of concept visible from space and streamed across social media by millions of visitors every year. The mountain was split. The bridge was hung in the sky. It was done in 3.5 years for approximately $300 million. And now the world is watching. Tourists are buying plane tickets. Engineers are studying the methods. Countries are asking China to come build things for them. China didn't just solve a geography problem in Guizhou. They sent a message to the entire planet about what they are capable of. The bridge is the message. The split mountain is the exclamation point, and it is working exactly as planned. I spent hours going through engineering reports and technical documents to bring you this story in the detail it deserves. If you found this deep dive worthwhile, please hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts on China's infrastructure ambitions, and subscribe to MegaBuild so you never miss the next one. These stories take real time to research, and your support is what makes them possible. Thanks for watching.